Real Madrid are dreaming again, and this time that dream could break the entire system. One single transfer might force a complete rethink of the attack, the defense, and even the coach. Perez plans to keep Vinicius at Real Madrid. Despite criticism of the Brazilian from some fans, President still sees Vini as a key part of the project, just like Kylian Mbappe. At the same time, Perez has an old and somewhat crazy dream, signing Erling Haaland as well. I honestly can't fully explain why he needs that. Perez has always leaned toward attackers and has never been overly concerned with balance, which is exactly why in recent years Real have lacked defenders, and the center backs they do have slowly turn into invalids because of the constant overload. So, how do you fit Haaland, Mbappe, and Vinicius together? And what about everyone else? That's the coach's headache, along with figuring out how to win when the defense is basically held together with tape. Real have been tracking Haaland for a long time, and right now, the Norwegian genuinely has reasons to consider leaving Manchester City. City have rebuilt the squad and tweaked their tactics, but they still haven't regained their old stability. According to reports, City would be ready to let him go if he asks, but for Real it would require a massive fee, around 200 million euros. No one that expensive has ever been signed by Real, but for a Norwegian cyborg, breaking the club record might feel justified. Still, the same question comes back. How do you combine Haaland with Mbappe and Vinicius? The obvious options are either playing with two strikers or pushing Vini to the left wing, and either way it's a brutal tactical puzzle, because you also need to protect the midfield and the defense. Thankfully, Haaland is one of the hardest working forwards in football, but the current coach still hasn't managed to make Vinicius and Mbappe consistently work without the ball. If anyone can do it, it's either Zinedine Zidane or Carlo Ancelotti. Zidane, however, is about to take over the France national team and is unavailable. Ancelotti is a different story. He could leave the Brazil job after the World Cup, and according to Touchline reports, he's a serious candidate to return to Real after this season. The experiment with a so-called system coach failed, and Perez has decided to roll things back to the old settings. Honestly, if Ancelotti had been given a proper group of defenders last season and a high-quality deep-lying playmaker instead of Toni Kroos, the year might have ended very differently for Real. So, an Ancelotti comeback isn't a bad idea, as long as Perez actually gives the Italian everything he needs and doesn't set him up like he did last year. The brothers Lucas and Theo Hernandez are known for having difficult personalities, and both regularly find themselves in scandals, both on the pitch and off it. And now Lucas is in one again. The PSG defender is being accused of human trafficking and illegal employment. Though this is not some Epstein or Diddy level story, the scale is much smaller. According to Paris Match, a Colombian family, a father, mother, and 3 children, who worked for Lucas and his wife for about a year, have filed a case in court. The alleged victims say they worked to the bone, far outside normal standards, without proper permission to be employed. Each family member had a role, including security guard, housekeeper, cook, and nanny. The case has been passed to the Versailles prosecutor's office. The victim's lawyer went even further, accusing Hernandez of slave ownership. Lucas is in serious trouble, because French labor law is among the strictest in the world, especially if a defender is found guilty of human trafficking. Robert Lewandowski is not planning to retire, despite what some Spanish media previously reported, and reliable journalist Florian Plettenberg has said that option is completely off the table. The Pole definitely won't hang up his boots, but the chances of him leaving Barcelona are quite high. Lewandowski can only stay if he agrees to a significant salary cut and reduced playing time, and even then, it's not guaranteed that Barcelona's leadership would accept it, because they are determined to sign a star striker no matter what. So Lewandowski is seriously considering an offer he already has. According to Plettenberg, he has options to remain in Europe. Saudi clubs are also dreaming of signing him, and there is strong interest from MLS, where teams are aggressively inviting him, and a move to the States is said to appeal to him a lot. As a reminder, Inter Miami want him. The Herons are looking for a new big-name forward, mainly because Luis Suarez was unconvincing in the second half of the season. Signing Timo Werner didn't work out, and he'll go to San Jose Earthquakes. Would any Miami fans really regret missing out on Werner if the club ends up landing Lewandowski? Considering the poll is open to MLS, Miami have a very real chance. Meanwhile, the striker who replaced Lewandowski as Bayern's long-term scorer isn't lowering his level or thinking about a weaker league. Harry Kane is in great form. Bayern love him, and Tottenham love him too, where he could return one day if he wanted. But right now, his thoughts are only about Bayern. As Nicolas Shearer reported, Kane is finalizing a contract extension with Bayern, and until the summer of 2029. Bayern aren't worried that his numbers will drop anytime soon. Speed was never his main weapon. Intensity is, and right now Kane works all over the pitch, winning the ball in defense, starting attacks with a genius pass, then arriving in the box to finish with power. With age, it'll be harder to maintain that everywhere on the field energy, but Kane takes exceptional care of his health. He says he takes inspiration from Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, lives with a personal nutritionist, and trains like a maniac, so he'll keep haunting Bundesliga defenders in their nightmares for a long time, and then turning those nightmares into reality. Expectations around Trent Alexander-Arnold's move to Real Madrid were enormous, not only among fans, but for Trent himself, because he came chasing Champions League titles and a Ballon d'Or push. He's one of the best defenders in the world, and in many ways, he changed how people see the right-back position. At Liverpool, Trent reached an absurd level, producing assists with a consistency of peak Kevin De Bruyne, and when you add elite set-piece delivery and control of tempo, you get a playmaker fullback on a Dani Alves level. At Real, Trent was supposed to confirm that status and enter history, but instead he basically moved into the club's medical room. And even when he's fit, he's behind Dani Carvajal, the veteran Real are supposedly preparing to move on from. Yet Carvajal still looks better than Trent despite his age. Alexander-Arnold is clearly rattled. Defending was never his strongest trait, but now even on the ball he can't find his old confidence. According to the source, the fullback blames Real's leadership, saying they promised him a starting role, not a spot on the bench, behind an aging Spaniard. As a result, Trent has started thinking about leaving Real. One option is Bayern Munich, where they've been quite happy with English players recently. Even Eric Dyer, for a while, came back to life under Thomas Tuchel and played top-level football. For some reason, English players feel very comfortable at Bayern, and Trent would fit right in. Bayern currently lack a natural right-back, having to use Josip Stanisic there, who is really a center-back, and Vincent Kompany doesn't like wasting Joshua Kimmich in defense when he can dictate tempo in midfield. Trent is very similar to Kimmich, similar qualities, but with more fullback in him than midfielder, not the other way around. If Trent's Real spell ends in failure, a move to Bayern would be an ideal chance to return to his old level. Al Nassr recently went through a rough stretch, losing several games in a row and falling behind Al Hilal, who are currently smashing everyone. But Al Nassr are trying to claw their way back, and yesterday they beat Damak. Cristiano Ronaldo scored the winning goal from a Felix assist, and Felix has finally found a league where he's consistent, with 13 goals and 4 assists in 15 games. Ronaldo himself now has 16 goals in 16 matches and leads the league as top scorer. Yesterday, Cristiano scored his 960th career goal, about 40 away from the dream number of 1,000, although rumors say he plans to retire right after the World Cup, which probably won't leave enough time to reach that clean milestone. Even without it, Ronaldo's list of achievements is insane. In his hometown of Madeira, he's honored as a symbol of hard work, discipline, and belief in yourself, and a statue of him was installed there. Now a video is going viral of someone setting that statue on fire. The caption on the clip read, "God's final warning," which raises the question, did he mean Lionel Messi, Antony, or Jeremy Boga from Nice? Gianni Infantino has warm relations with Donald Trump, and the Swiss president isn't shy about praising Trump or supporting his initiatives, which isn't hard to understand, because an ally like that can be very useful. Former UEFA president Michel Platini once said that Infantino always bowed to people like Trump, saying he worked very well at UEFA, but he has one problem. He likes rich, influential people with money. He was like that when he was number 2, but back then, he wasn't the boss. Specifically for Trump, Infantino even invented a so-called Peace Prize and presented it to the politician during the 2026 World Cup draw. Now, in light of recent events, remembering that feels almost absurd. The Guardian, citing a FIFA source, reports that some officials feel deep shame about awarding Trump a Peace Prize, and many inside the organization are uncomfortable with how openly Infantino is diving into politics. Trump's claims on Greenland could theoretically lead to the USA being suspended from international football, despite the friendship between the US president and the FIFA president. According to The Independent, FIFA fear that if Trump attempts to annex Greenland, the Federation may have no other choice but to ban the USA, because of the precedent set by Russia's suspension in 2022, which could even put the World Cup itself in question. Some top FIFA figures reportedly believe the organization should pressure Trump and threaten to move the World Cup, to force US leadership to abandon plans regarding, well, Greenland. I don't believe Infantino will suddenly grow a spine, but it's not only his opinion that matters. so the USA really could face suspension. Mason Greenwood was fired up for the match against Liverpool, and the Englishman nearly created a miracle for Marseille by himself, coming close to scoring a couple of times, just missing out through bad luck. Overall, though, Liverpool were far more confident and creative, and fully deserved a big win. Before the match, there were rumors that Arne Slot could be fired if he lost, and after a performance like this, there will definitely be no resignation. The Reds delivered a complete and convincing performance with very little to complain about. Dominik Szoboszlai carried the team once again and scored the winning goal, brilliantly fooling both the wall and the goalkeeper with a low free kick. And you could argue that kind of goal is even prettier than the usual powerful shots over or around the wall. Slot completely outcoached Roberto De Zerbi. Marseille are known for their short build-up play, but Liverpool's pressing and smart man-marking took away their main weapon. And even more than that, Liverpool turned it against them, as Marseille kept making mistakes near their own goal under pressure. It finished 3-0, a masterclass from Slot, the same Slot who, in the pre-match press conference, complained that he didn't deserve fans' respect, despite winning the club's second league title in 30 years. Liverpool actually find it easier when opponents try to play as the main team and don't sit deep, because one of their biggest problems, which Slot himself has talked about, is that in the Premier League, almost everyone parks the bus against them. Only twice this season did league opponents play in a way that suited Slot's pre-match plan, as most teams abandoned their usual style because of Liverpool's level and vulnerabilities. And Marseille yesterday only underlined why nobody wants to play normal football against the Reds. Barcelona produced absolute madness against Slavia in what should have been the easiest game imaginable. Slavia are completely out of form. They have the worst attack in this Champions League, and their domestic league is on pause, so they lack proper match rhythm. And yet Barcelona still conceded in the 10th minute. Fermin Lopez came to the rescue with a brace to put Barca ahead, but because of a Lewandowski own goal, the teams went into halftime level. In the second half, Barcelona went ahead again thanks to a Dani Olmo masterpiece into the top corner, but the match still turned into a nightmare for Barca fans. Pedri suffered a serious injury and appears set to miss at least 4 weeks. Even the usually emotionless Hansi Flick howled in frustration, because losing a key player, one of the best in the world, is a real catastrophe for Barcelona. Before Barca's match, I managed to watch what's already becoming a legendary game for Azerbaijani football fans, as Karabakh pulled off a comeback win over Eintracht, turning the game around by the 80th minute after trailing, with the winner smashed in by Mustafa Zada in the 94th minute. Karabakh are now 17th in the Champions League table, sitting above Marseille, Benfica, Bayern, Monaco, and Napoli, and they've practically guaranteed a place in the Champions League playoffs. Statistical portals give them a 98% chance of reaching the knockouts for the first time ever, an incredible achievement for a club with a very modest budget, which has already fully paid itself back this season thanks to Champions League success. And it's also worth noting that after Atletico's win over Atalanta yesterday, Napoli are very likely to miss the playoffs. In the final round, they have to play Chelsea, which is extremely difficult, and no top coach performs as poorly in the Champions League as Antonio Conte. So you might as well call Gurban Gurbanov from Karabakh to the Napoli touchline when the club plays in Europe. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this format, you know what to do. See you next time.